Coming up, we take a look at how Indonesia Tzu Chi volunteers help those affected by the January floods. China Tzu Chi volunteers hold a winter camp for underprivileged students in Jiangxi's Yichun. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. First up in Indonesia, to help those devastated by the January floods return their lives to normal as soon as possible, Tzu Chi volunteers were mobilized to hold relief distributions, cash over programs, and free clinics in the hot-hit areas. Thanks to Tzu Chi's help, many survivors have regained the strength to move on. Although it is only less than a month since the floods devastated much of Manado, Indonesia, the city has already returned to normal. To help those still in need of medical attention, however, team of doctors decided to hold a free clinic on the side of a busy street. Slowly walking into the free clinic, the senior who is having trouble breathing shows the doctors her wounds. Despite the pain, the doctor's attentiveness brought a smile to her face.
Floods can lead to bacterial infections. The bacteria are transmitted through dirty water, which can lead to serious hygiene problems.
Other than skin problems, many children also showed the signs of other post-fall illness.
Cough, diarrhea, fever, and breathing problems.
To prevent the spread of infectious disease, the Tzu Chi Foundation launched cash for programs around the city. For those that joined the program, they not only help clean up their living environment, but also receive $8 per day.
There are 7 areas in Banjir village and 3 areas in Tikala area. A total of 920 people joined our program.
The volunteers also arrived at Dendan village to hand out daily necessities, blankets, and sarong to needy residents.
Thank you, Tzu Chi, for providing us with these items. Everyone in my family will benefit from your kindness.
Meanwhile, in Tikala Baru, other than holding cash over programs, team of doctors also held a free clinic in hopes of helping those in need of medical attention.
The volunteers asked me if my son was able to walk on his own. I told them that my son is very sick, and they told me that they will come pick us up at our home. Thank you so much.
This is cash over program participant Anita, whose son has been running a fever for days. Thanks to Tzu Chi's free clinic, Anita's son is finally on the road to recovery. In just 2 days, the free clinic served a total of 81 patients, while the cash reward program was joined by 610 locals.
Everyone here hopes to return their life to normal as soon as possible. Thank you, Tzu Chi Foundation, for giving us encouragement.
Upon learning of Tzu Chi's bamboo coin banks and that the cash they receive from the cash reward program is embedded with love from around the globe, many decided to donate their love. At the end of the event, everyone prays together for a world free of disasters. Following a series of eruptions on Mount Sinabu in Indonesia's North Sumatra, the local government has evacuated tens of thousands of residents to nearby shelters. Upon learning that children's educations have been put on hold, Tzu Chi volunteers not only organize transportation to help students get to school, but have also worked with the local church to provide tutoring class for children living in the refuge camps.
Here in Indonesia's North Sumatra, children at the refugee camp in Karo are writing their homework under a dim light. As children's education has been put on hold since the eruption of Mount Sinaban in early January, Tzu Chi volunteers are now working with the local church to provide tutoring classes for children staying at the temporary shelters.
In my mind, helping these children has always been part of our mission at the church. As long as we are capable, we should help one another and share our knowledge with the kids.
The free tutoring class ignites the children's passion to learn.
The teacher teaches us how to read and write.
I am happy to study and write homework together with my friends.
Kepada siapa saja.
Though we were devastated by the disaster, we cannot overlook our children's education. We are grateful that Tzu Chi volunteers are here to help raise the quality of education in the refugee camps.
At another temporary shelter, 8-year-old Kani Bantuenga is about to begin her day at school. Taking a bus provided by Tzu Chi, the girl, along with other students, will be studying at a nearby school.
I normally study between 7 to 8 p.m, but the temporary shelter is crowded and I can't concentrate there. I can only try to study at school. If there's time, I will study at the refuge camp.
Always seizing every minute to study, Kani's hardworking spirit sets an example for others at the refugee camp.
To allow more time for study, I normally wake her up in the morning and review her homework.
Jadi suruh belajar. Kira-kira mulai dari jam 9 sampai jam 10.
Tzu Chi volunteers hope to help children continue their studies and move on to a brighter future.
During the political unrest in Zamboanga of the Philippines that September, Tatalon National High School was located closest to Ground Zero. After the riots broke out, the school became the first place to shelter disaster survivors. As 3 of the buildings were occupied by evacuees, students' classes continue on the sports field instead. Not wanting students to continue their learning in such a harsh environment, Tzu Chi volunteers decided to install temporary prefabricated classrooms.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
Early morning, Tzu Chi volunteers are already assembling prefabricated classrooms at the Talon Elementary School.
If we didn't come and install these classrooms for them, they wouldn't have sufficient classroom space. So the faster we complete them, the sooner they can resume classes.
A total of 25 volunteers and 5 Cash for Work participants were mobilized to help. Standing out from the rest was this group of female volunteers who all worked swiftly despite their petite physique.
We don't have many male volunteers in Zamboanga, so we have already gotten enough training. We usually help with carrying the items. Sometimes we get cramps in our lower back, but we feel better once we've taken a rest, so it's not too difficult for us.
Assembling temporary classrooms is not difficult, but rather it is the need for physical strength that poses a bigger challenge.
Our whole body gets sore, of course, but we have to persevere in order to complete these classrooms.
Not wanting the children to endure any more hardship, these volunteers are all willing to do what is necessary.
Well, Master said time is really short, and we have to maximize whatever time we have. We have to maximize whatever time the volunteer has.
5 months after the riots in Zamboanga, Tzu Chi volunteers raced against time to bring normalcy back into these students' lives.
Thank you.
Tzu Chi volunteers proudly waved the Tzu Chi flag, followed by an exhilarating lion and dragon dance performance. This joyous atmosphere marks the start of the Talon National High School handover ceremony.
Our classrooms have been used to shelter them. At an early age, we all experienced the pain and difficulty. But we stood up and went back to school again, not knowing what the school has for us. Crowded, noisy, dusty covered court sheltered us when the classes resumed.
Teachers put on a performance to reenact the terror of the Civil War, to remind students never to give up in face of adversity.
Temporary classrooms and also our year-end ceremonies. For the first time, we're doing it outside of our Tzu Chi Center.
What has the students all smiles? Tzu Chi volunteers not only brought red envelopes, but also stationery and school bags for each student. Students and teachers gift volunteers with a handmade model of their classroom to show their thanks to the volunteers as well as the love of Tzu Chi members from around the world.
But with these donations coming from the Tzu Chi Foundation, so teacher will be able to concentrate and teach the lessons well. Because the G7 will be occupying already, they will have their own learning area. So thank you so much sa Tzu Chi Foundation.
After the completion of the classrooms, volunteers also gifted blackboards and chalk to the school.
Looking at the smiles of everyone makes it all worthwhile. I mean, they say that the most beautiful smile is the smile of your recipients. As long as they study hard, and come to school every day, then it's worthwhile.
Plans are underway to further assist 7 schools with the installation of 64 prefab classrooms. The genuine smiles of the children are the volunteers' greatest source of encouragement as they continue this relay of love in the days ahead.
The first phase of Tzu Chi's emergency relief work in the high-stricken areas of the Philippines has come to an end. Recently, volunteers held a press conference in Manila so that media workers could gain a better understanding of the Buddhist NGO. Media reporters attending the event also took the opportunity to recognize Tzu Chi for its disaster relief efforts.
Last November, Typhoon Haiyan brought a wave of destruction to central Philippines. In the immediate aftermath, Tzu Chi volunteers traveled to the affected areas, bringing relief items and initiating cash for work programs. Within 20 days, participation in the program reached 300,000. On December 6th, the first temporary classroom was completed. And in January, a blessing ceremony was held in Tacloban City. Now, 3 months after the typhoon, Tzu Chi's efforts have been reported in local newspapers throughout the country.
I became interested in Tzu Chi Foundation because every time I read about a disaster from the time pa of Ondoy, somewhere along the small print, they will say Tzu Chi Foundation was there.
At the press conference, the foldable beds developed for Tzu Chi's international relief missions had many reporters in awe. And the solar-powered cap provides light whenever needed, so volunteers can still continue to work without electricity.
We were in Tacloban for 43 days. We heard from the disaster survivors that what Tzu Chi did for them far exceeded what the national and local government has done so far.
There is no end date for the volunteers' work in Tacloban, as they continue to accommodate the needs of disaster survivors on their path to recovery.
Many people think that we are just a Chinese organization. We want to let members of society know that Tzu Chi is an organization everyone can be a part of.
More than a decade ago, Tzu Chi seeds first landed here in the Philippines, and now through mass media, volunteers hope to spread Tzu Chi's goodness and compassion throughout the entire country.
In various parts of Taiwan, Tzu Chi volunteers are doing their part to help raise funds for Typhoon Haiyan survivors, whether it's Tainan's Anping Charity Fair or Ling Cheng-Ying's designer clothing sale. But first, let's take a look at what inspired Maureen Tsai, the chief operating officers of Jiangxi Books and Cafe, to start a campaign to send volumes of Jiangxi aphorisms to children in the Philippines.
Earlier in January, Tzu Chi's Philippines disaster relief team came across a 7-year-old boy during their visit. After receiving the volunteers' loving care, the boy brought them to the ocean side to search for what he had lost.
He said his brother and sister drowned, then asked me where they went. When I heard this, my heart sank because his parents and his siblings are all gone now.
Participating in the second segment of the disaster relief and seeing the suffering it was trying to alleviate, Maureen Tsai was deeply moved, and upon returning to Taiwan, the boy's words continued to echo in her heart.
I felt deeply that although material goods are very much needed in times of emergency, but what can accompany them through thick and thin is the Master's Dharma.
Maureen's solution, a children's version of the Jiangxi aphorisms, and thus she started her campaign.
We started to appeal to people for 1 or 2 sets. Some of the younger volunteers even said they were going to donate their red envelope money to help the Filipino children.
The power of the Jiangxi aphorisms also inspired the wife of the mayor of Ormoc, who was visiting Taiwan during the Chinese New Year to further help spread the Master's Dharma. Also doing her part to help is Ling Cheng-Ying, who held several charity sales of her designer clothing.
Compared to going to the department store to purchase clothes, spending money to benefit others gives a different feeling.
The money from the charity sale is entirely donated to help disaster survivors. Everyone is showing a lot of love.
Lynn is selling her entire stock at 80% off, and donating the funds to help Typhoon Haiyan survivors in the Philippines.
It doesn't matter if it's one item, 900, 1,000 or 2,000 NT dollars. This great love is endless. The more people participate, the more love we can gather.
No matter if it's purchasing the clothes for oneself or others, this charity sale has already inspired many people to give a little of their love. Meanwhile, residents in Tainan's Anping are also giving of their love. A lion dance marks the start of the spring charity fair held at Tzu Chi's Anping Liaison Office. Whether it's crafts, snacks, or secondhand items, the theme of the spring fair is extending life and gathering love.
The carnival helps gather everyone's love, and we can, in turn, bring this love to our international relief missions. We have 8 booths where the children can challenge themselves, so there are lots of participants. The children's sign language song performance brings smiles to the audience as they enjoy the fair and donate to a good cause.
In China, Shanghai Tzu Chi volunteers had long cared for disadvantaged students in Jiangxi's Yichun. Although volunteers have to travel 10 hours to get to Yichun, no one complained. Instead, the volunteers selflessly used their holidays to hold a winter camp for students.
Sending a greeting to Master Zhenyan in Taiwanese are Tzu Chi scholarship students from Jiangxi's Yichun. They are attending a volunteer-run camp and learning of Tzu Chi's spirit of compassion.
No matter what situation I encounter now, I will try to complain less. What I have seen most is hope, and at the same time, I hope besides receiving help from others, that I can also stand firm on my own and help others who are more in need than I.
Since 1997, Shanghai Tzu Chi volunteers have traveled to Jiangxi's Yichun to help disadvantaged students on their path of education. Although volunteers have a 7.5-hour train ride to Nanchang from Shanghai and then a 2.5-hour bus ride to reach Yichun, seeing how well the students absorb the Dharma makes the journey one worthwhile.
These children are inspiring. Their hearts are full of compassion. In the Year of the Horse, I hope each student is successful in their endeavors.
During the 3-day camp, students were taught about carrying out compassionate deeds and fulfilling their filial duties.
I will continue donating to my bamboo coin bank. Every day I will recruit my 4 roommates to donate a coin. I think that is within my ability.
I hope after I graduate from college, I can join Tzu Chi and be a volunteer like those here today.
At the end of the camp, volunteers present each scholarship student with a gift, hoping the rest of the year is one filled with blessing and wisdom.
To celebrate the Chinese New Year, Tzu Chi volunteers organize various events around the globe. In Malaysia's Johor Bahru, students at the DaAi Kindergarten spread their New Year's blessings to members around their community. Meanwhile, in Canada, the Vancouver Tzu Chi Academy organized a workshop for children to learn traditional crafts and enjoy the New Year's festivities. But first, let's go to the United States to see how Tzu Chi volunteers in Houston and Modesto celebrated the annual event.
Following with the sound of traditional gongs, the youngsters on the stage carefully execute a lion dance. The performance gives them an opportunity to experience the various aspects of Chinese culture embedded in the Lunar New Year celebration.
He joined the lion dance team. He felt very proud to be a part of the performance. He said he was happy to take part in the show.
The Spring Festival is one of the most important events for the Chinese people. To get the youngsters involved in the New Year's festivities, the Houston Tzu Chi Academy annually organizes a New Year's gathering to remind youngsters of their cultural roots.
After all, I am Taiwanese, so I pay more attention to their moral education. After going to the Tzu Chi Academy, they have become better behaved.
Also at the Modesto Liaison Office, Tzu Chi volunteers are busy decorating. Handing out blessing and wisdom red envelopes, the volunteers come together in prayer, hoping everyone will be safe and sound in the year to come. To reciprocate the Modesto volunteers for their continued care, several local residents also brought their filled bamboo coin banks to donate. Going north to Canada, the Vancouver Tzu Chi Academy also organized a New Year's gathering in which youngsters learn different traditional Chinese customs. The God of Wealth brought a year of good fortune, while Tzu Chi volunteers introduced several New Year's dishes to the participants. As part of the New Year's celebration, students not only learn to write Chinese characters, but also offer words of blessings.
May you have a prosperous and happy new year.
May you succeed in the year of horse.
The volunteers also seized the chance to introduce Tzu Chi's aphorisms to participants. A Chinese craft workshop brings fun and joy to both students and parents.
It says happiness and peace, and the children did the lantern with me. They're doing many crafts. It's all about learning the language. Happy for New Year.
Making a wish for the new year, everyone looks forward to a better year ahead.
新年快乐！你们要去哪里？
Accompanied by their parents and teachers, Malaysia's Johor Bahru DaAi kindergarten students ready themselves for an important mission. This time, instead of visiting their relatives or friends, they are going to send their New Year's blessings to their neighbors' doorsteps. In the face of the lovely surprise, several residents are overwhelmed with joy.
No, not at all. I know they are here with their New Year's blessings. The Malays will do the same.
Students of the Johor Bahru DaAi kindergarten not only have a chance to show their love to members of their community, but also get to know people from different ethnic backgrounds.
This activity taught our children to not only express their New Year's greetings to the Chinese people, but also the Malays and the Indians. Through such event, they can get involved in our annual celebration.
Back at the school, the students write down their New Year's wishes on the wish tree.
告诉师姑，你画什么愿呢？可以告诉师姑吗？笔记。然后？
Through various activities, students are starting their new year in a special and meaningful way.
We go back to Taiwan at the end of the show. Members of the Tzu Chi Collegiate Youth Association recently visited the Tzu Chi Sanxia Grants in New Taipei City to get a taste of farming life while learning the importance of environmentalism. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.